speaker is Sue Ingram, who is an absolute expert at hiring teams, leading teams. She's been advising on teams and doing them herself for 30 odd years now, I'd imagine. And she's an absolute gem at this stuff. She's got a brilliant YouTube channel with videos, and obviously they're posted onto LinkedIn as well. She does LinkedIn Lives. So if you are looking to hire people and all that goes along with that, I highly recommend just following her, because you never know when one of her nuggets is going to open your mind to something. And also reach out and have a proper conversation as well, because this stuff can't be taken for granted. It needs to be well thought through. So on that note, I hand over to Sue.
What?
Do you have slides, Sue?
I do. Can I share my screen?
Can you do it? Or
yeah,
do you need...
let me press share screen. Yeah, there we go.
Cool, you've got permissions. That's good.
Yeah.
Cool. So
woo, let me go into slideshow from the beginning.
So just to give you an idea of time, if you want to go for 25 minutes, and then
25 minutes, I can do that. Perfect.
And then we'll go to a breakout room where everybody can discuss the content and come back with some questions.
Okay, so in 25 minutes, I'm going to try and talk to you about how to build and manage a virtual team, something that actually you can argue would take a lifetime to accomplish beautifully, because we're talking about becoming better at people issues, and we naturally become better at people issues as we get older. It's one of the advantages of getting older. So let me introduce me. 30 years in HR and management development. I did a lot of recruitment for the city in IT. Executive coach for 20 years, which was just superb. Loved it. Still coaching some people to this day. Honorary teaching fellow at Lancaster University for 10 years. And I have developed a management program called Inspire the Uninspired. How to inspire the uninspired. So let's get cracking onto the subject of managing virtual teams, because you are sole entrepreneurs, or you're now gathering a team behind you, around you. And I want to bust some myths right at the beginning. And you may be disappointed by some of these, but hey, somehow my business will avoid all the people issues that I've seen in other businesses. Sorry, no. Sometimes people become sole entrepreneurs because you want to avoid the politics of working in an organization. As soon, and I'm sure you've already realized in running a business, you can't avoid it. You cannot avoid the politics of it, the fact that people let you down sometimes, the fact that people are difficult at other times. If I hire an expert in, then they'll know what to do better than me. They will, say, for example, you're going to hire an IT expert in. Yes, they're going to know IT better than you, but they won't know how to run your business better than you. Sometimes people hire in staff thinking, oh, they'll really be able to help my business go a long way. No, they won't. They will be better at you at IT, but not at everything else. And the perfect expert doesn't really exist, if you know what I mean. The perfect expert for your business is you, and you alone. These people are like me and therefore can be left to get on with it. Wrong. Big wrong. They're not like you. And the last one is that they'll care about my business just as much as I do. And no, they will not. They won't. The classic is a colleague of mine. She runs her own business. She hired in an IT bod to do a whole lot of social media and Kajabi work for her and all that kind of thing. They worked together in tandem for some considerable time. They did a fantastic launch. It was really great. She was stunned with the results. She therefore decided they were going to launch their product again. She put a bigger advertising revenue behind this new launch because the other one had been so good. So she made a big investment in this launch. She left him to get on with his side of it because he'd done it once before. She left him to get on with his side of it because he'd done it before, except he didn't do it the second time. And the results were poorer than the first time, despite the bigger advertising spend she put into it. Because she thought he cared about her business as much as she did. And no, he did not. And she had left him to get on with it. What she later realized was that he had got another new client in, and he was servicing the new client really well. and not and taking his eye off her project and her ball. And it cost her money, and she was very upset about it. And I don't want you to fall into that mistake yourself. As soon as you hire someone, you become a manager and a leader. Instantly, you cannot avoid this. Your job role moves from completing tasks, from doing things, to inspiring another to do extraordinary work for you. That is now part of your job role. Your job role is to inspire another person to do extraordinary work for you. And people who learn how to do this become the conductor of an orchestra. Okay? They head up the business. They do the jobs that the business owner alone can do, which is usually PR, putting up, speaking, doing events, things like that. They do the jobs that only they can do, and then they conduct everyone else to do their jobs. And therefore, instead of just being one person, you're suddenly a whole orchestra. And if you get everyone coordinated and working together, you make a beautiful sound. And that's now your job, to inspire others to do extraordinary work for you. So you've got to take on all the roles and responsibilities of that. So how do you inspire staff? Oh, this is the big question, isn't it? How do you inspire staff? It's simple to explain. It's a commitment to do. You have, first of all, have to be someone that they can trust. You have to show up on time. You have to honor your promises. You have to admit to your mistakes if you make one. You have to keep a confidence if that's required of you. You have to show yourself to be a trustworthy person. You have to walk the talk. You have to role model the behavior that you want from them. Now, that's a tough thing to do. That's a big ask of any human being. We work to be trustworthy, and we want to be trustworthy, but sometimes we can still find it hard to be trustworthy. Yeah, but we have to turn up. If we are not someone that they can trust, then the good people will go, because they'll just go, no, I'm not. Say, for example, I've got one person who only pays when I chase her. And I'm thinking of dropping her as a client. Why? Because I don't want to take my time up playing that kind of game. If I chase her, she pays very promptly. But it's almost like she's got this little rule: I don't pay any bill until they make a phone call to me. She's playing games, and I just want to be paid on time, please, without me remembering to make a phone call, having to make a phone call. And I'm thinking of dropping it because I can't be bothered with that. I just cannot be bothered with it. So you have to be someone that they can trust, that they can rely on. You have to clearly know what you want your business to achieve. In other words, your vision. Now, people get all kind of caught up with visions, and it can be overwhelming. Even if your vision is a bit uncertain at the moment, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Even if your vision is still being created, I'm with you on that one. It's taken me 5-6 years to kind of really refine my own vision for my business. So I know exactly what you mean. But you need to know where you are. You need to have a direction. You need to, even if you change that direction in 3 months' time, you have to be able to communicate your vision today. What are you wanting your business to do today? If it changes, that's fine. Just inform them if and when it changes. You have to be clear on how you want your business to achieve the vision. What we're talking about here is values and behaviors. And again, people get very caught up with values. They think it's this big thing. It's not actually. It's really quite simple. It's just that people don't access the benefits of having them sufficiently. Say, for example, you have a value of being professional in all your communication with clients. That sounds really good, doesn't it? Professional with all your communication with clients. Now, that's a value. We are professional at all times. Perfect. But you need to define it. You need to define it further. What do you mean by the word professional? And for example, it could be something like, we answer emails within 2 hours. We smile when we talk to our customers, even when they're on the phone. We do not make our customers wrong, even when they are wrong. I don't know. You can make up any kind of thing like that. But when you start defining what the behaviors are behind your stated value of professionalism, now you've got something very precise and something you can assess your staff against, and something that your staff know they're expected to deliver. And actually, it's under the behaviors becomes the attitude. I was talking to John in the breakout group, and he was saying that one of his problems he's got with his team is the attitude that they display. Yeah. And if you define the behaviors and therefore the attitudes you want your staff to do, like we answer emails within 2 hours, we never make our clients wrong, even when they might be wrong. Yeah. You can then, and those are known and agreed by the team, you can then manage your staff against those stated and known behaviors. It takes work to identify what the values and behaviors are, but it's rather like the vision. You will define your values and behaviors as you go through your work, as you go through your business. And you just need to start refining it down, and it becomes better and better and better, and it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger the more you do it. You need to set up every individual working for you for success. You need to set them up for success. It has to be the first thought in your mind when you see that member of staff. What can I do to help them be as successful as possible, as easily as possible? Has to be your first waking thought. What can I do to make their life easy and them to be very successful for me? Do I need to be clearer about what the outcome is? Do they need a piece of equipment? Do they need more of my time to check out ideas? What do they need for them to be easily successful for me? So you need to set them up for success. It's your responsibility to do that. It's not theirs. It's your responsibility to set them up for success. Oh, notice, recognize, reward. I don't care how professional you are. I don't care what kind of an expert you are. Notice, recognize, and reward. So you need to tell them what good is. You need to notice when they do something that's good. You need to go, thank you. That's brilliant. That's a great piece of work. And you need to do it more than you're probably doing it. Everyone loves a thank you. A genuine, sincere thank you and appreciation goes a long way. It builds connection. It builds rapport. And people want that more than money. Shall I say that again? People want notice, recognition, and reward more than money. It's an interesting one, isn't it? So there have been studies over the years, all the way through. People want to be seen, validated, and recognized, and they will place that above money. And but we don't always practice it. Sometimes we've been taught, usually by working for a poor manager ourselves, that actually management is all about noticing what's going wrong and put that right and getting upset with people. No, good management is about saying, well done, congratulations, thank you, that's made all the difference, can't believe you did it in that time, superb. That is what good management is about. But it has to be sincere, has to be real. How do you manage virtual staff? Scope the project and be very clear on milestones. This is your responsibility. You can do it alongside them. If they're the IT expert and you're going, hey, this is the outcome I'm looking for, can we work together and set the milestones? Because you may not know the technical stuff, or how, for me, editing a video in my mind takes 15 minutes. But actually, having had a go at editing videos, I now know it takes more like 4 hours. You know what I mean? I'm hopeful. I want it to be 15 minutes, but actually the reality is it takes 4 hours. So you need to sit down with your staff and work out the milestones for the project. Now, be careful on this, because sometimes some staff will tell you what you want to hear rather than what the truth is. They're pleasers. They're people pleasers. Comes from a very good intention, but it means that they have this habit of promising the world and not delivering it. What you want to make it very clear, and you might do this under your values and your behaviors and your definition of professional, is we meet our promises. We're therefore very careful about what we promise to deliver. We under-promise and over-deliver to our clients and to ourselves internally as well. You may want to set those up as one of your values and behaviors, because when you scope the project and you break it down into weekly, daily milestones, this will be achieved this will be achieved this will be achieved this, then you know whether you're on track to the end date. You know if it's slipping and you know why it's slipping. So you've got to be very careful on milestones. Another one is to ask them what they would want from you in order to be successful. Do not be a mind reader. Say to them, look, for you to do this really well, what do you need from me? What do you want from me? Pin back your ears, listen, and deliver it. When they highlight a problem, don't shoot them down. Don't get cross. Don't go, oh my God, this is awful, this is dreadful. Don't shoot the messenger. If you do that, they won't come to you with a problem again. They'll try and fix it by themselves without letting you know about it. Sometimes they'll be successful at that, sometimes they won't, and sometimes it will create more problems. If someone comes to you with a problem, your first word is, thank you for telling me. And mean it. Thank you for telling me. We've now got a chance to put it right. If you are annoyed about something, say, I'm so annoyed, this technical stuff is confusing to me. What are we going to do to fix it? You need to go calm and you need to go thank you. And have an update call with them at least every week. Now, I'm going to go very quickly now through what working side by side does and provides. Sorry, this should be a build slide, but it's not. So what working side by side in the same physical office provide? You would know that they were being proactive, that they were energized, that they were okay, that they were on task, just by the way in which they walk into the office. When you're working virtually, you don't see that. You don't see how they are every day. They would know the problems and issues that you as a business are facing simply by osmosis. They would hear it being discussed. They would hear you talking to finance. They would hear you doing this. They would hear you going, I've got this big presentation. I've got to get this right. They would know what's going on just by osmosis. Celebrations would be small and spontaneous. Right from somebody saying, that was a good piece of work. God, that took me some time to do. That was a bit of a headache to do. And someone else would go, oh, well done for doing that. That took me a bit. All the way through to new client in, big celebration, wonderful. They would pick up the language of the business by osmosis. They'd pick up the terminology, the approach that you use with clients, how you speak to your clients, the relationships you have with your clients. They'd pick all that up by osmosis. They'd just pick it up by overhearing conversations taking place around them. And if they were struggling for any reason, if they were struggling with a technical problem, if they were struggling with an IT problem, if they were struggling because they've got a daughter who's sick, who's badly sick, and they were worried about her, you would see it. Because you would see them walk in and you would think, oh, and you'd say, are you okay? And they'll go, oh, no, my daughter's not very well. She keeps throwing these high fevers and the doctors don't know what's going on. And you would see it. They would be welcomed and recognized when they come in at the beginning of the day. Don't overlook this thing, that the importance of, as a human being seen and recognized. When they walk in through the office, you go, morning, Steve. Morning. I know it's a small thing, but it matters. There would be natural breaks in the day for tea and a laugh about the latest TV program. So you'd say, did you watch that thing with Wim last night, Freeze the Fear? Whatever your comment would be. You would know something about them that's quite personal. They would be sitting in a logoed office, drinking from a logoed mug. In other words, they would be surrounded by your company identity. They would be sitting in the physical space of your company identity. They would belong to your tribe. So how can you do this? How can you replicate this when you're working with a virtual team? Number one, and something you might want to consider, it doesn't actually cost a great deal of money, send them a welcome pack, a physical welcome pack with a t-shirt with your logo on it, a mug with your logo on it. I know someone who sends cushions for the middle of the back with your logo on it. Something so that when they sit at their workstation at home or wherever they are, they can see your logo. They know they belong to your tribe. The other is, do you know Daniel Goleman? He wrote the book about emotional intelligence. He's a really great guy. And I went to hear him speak one time. And he said, virtual teams. He said, there's a problem with virtual teams. You have to, as a virtual team, meet physically at least once a year for all the social chit-chat that I've been talking about here, to make sure that social chit-chat happens so there's a cohesion with the team. The team comes together. And a guy shot his hand up and he said, the best team I ever worked with was virtual and we never got together in person. And Daniel's a researcher, so he was on it like a shot. What do you mean? What did you do? He said, well, we had our weekly Zoom meetings. What else? And he said, well, then on Friday we had the gossip call. And he was on it again. What do you mean the gossip call? Well, this was a sales team that was selling to global clients. Now, if you're making sales, big complex sales, you want to know, and you're working within a sector, you want to know who has worked with who and hates them, who once had an affair with so-and-so. Do you know what I mean? You need to know the gossip of the sector and your client. So on Friday afternoons, they had the gossip call. It was a call without any agenda and without any purpose other than chatting. And Daniel said, did you just gossip about your clients, your customers, or did you gossip about other things as well, implying the company? He said, oh, we gossiped about everything and anything. They just gossiped about whatever. What they had every week on Friday I guess in place of the Friday evening drinks that you can go to, they had a call with no agenda other than chat. And that brings people into your tribe. There we go. I've thrown a lot of content to you very quickly. If you want to know more, you can always email me. You can always link in with me. Send me an email. I've got some free workshops out at the moment, and I'm also going to be running my management course very shortly in the next couple of weeks, if that's of interest to you at all. But just send me an email, and I will send you the links to my free workshop that gives you a bit more information. But meanwhile, I would love, is this the right time now, Naomi, to ask for questions and all that kind of thing?
So what we're going to do is go into breakout rooms so that people can express what's coming up for them, because I think that's
perfect.
Like,
Perfect.
Blah, 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 and then formulate your questions. So
lovely.
Go through breakout rooms. If you've not met before, obviously say what you do, and then ask people, do they hire? Are they intending to hire? What stops them hiring? And then 10 minutes we'll have conversations about everything that Sue's come up with, and then formulate your questions, and we'll come back for questions after that. Okay?
Lovely. Thank you.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to put you into breakout rooms again. It said one participant, and I was like, did I just click a box I didn't mean to click? And I thought I'd sent you all off. And then you were really quickly, and I was like, okay, it's fine. Yeah, it always says one participant when you're on your own. Oh dear. Okay, cool. So, questions for Sue. Anyone want to kick it off with a question?
I think it's just a statement, actually, Sue.
Yes, Michael.
What you showed in your presentation was so true. I've worked for a couple of big companies. One of them was Waitrose, and it was always trying to make sure that the staff were comfortable in what they were doing and the health and well-being of them. And I took that on into my own when I had my own company in the sense of being a food distributor, and it's always paid off handsomely. So what you said is, if you like, I can't remember what the words are, but to the ear,
it's about being human.
Yeah,
it's about realizing that we all want to do great work. Obviously,
yes.
We all want to be rewarded, and sometimes we've got situations where our daughter is ill and we're worried.
Yeah,
and you don't have to fix it. You just have to listen and understand.
Yeah,
and appreciate that these things happen in life, don't they?
Of course,
they throw us curveballs all the time. We have a car accident, or it's amazing that we make it to the end of the year sometimes. So
your presentation was spot on.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
John, you're unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yeah, it's just Sue's view on because it's just going to be more and more virtual, isn't it? Because I'm very much somebody, like I said, I come from a civil service background. I love the office. So I have a home, and then I go to the office, and I have banter with my friends there, and we do the work. And that's always been my way. And then we had the COVID thing. And now I've built this business, and I have a mentor, a business coach, my VA, my team, and we're all virtual. And it just seems that it's going more and more towards that, isn't it? Is there any dangers in that, or things, or do you think any pushback, people are going to pull back to the more meet face to face?
I think that there will be a pullback to the office. It's going to be difficult. The big companies and the HR departments are talking about how to help managers overcome proximity bias. They're in the office, and they've got a young single person who's always in the office and is always cheerful and willing to do stuff. And they will be favoured over the equally able person who's working from home because they've got childcare issues and is still delivering a great job for them, but is not being seen to be delivering a great job, physically being seen. And sadly, human beings being what human beings are, and we are animals at our core still, will warm to people that we see regularly as opposed to people we don't. If you're a good manager, you will know that staff are doing great work for you virtually as well, and you will be fair and you will be equitable about it all. But there's not that many good managers around. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. And I think the reality is that people will feel that they will have done really good work and will feel overlooked. And sometimes they won't be overlooked, but they will still feel overlooked because they'll get a sense that decisions are being made without them being included, because they're not around for, hey guys, can we all just go in the boardroom now? We need to discuss this, what we're going to do with this client. They've suddenly come with this problem. What are we going to do? You have to actively include those that are working virtually.
It sounds very similar to when there used to be those who smoked and those who didn't smoke. And people would take out smoking just to be part of the conversations. If the manager smoked, all the conversations happened out on the
I didn't smoke, but if I wanted to know what was happening in the organisation, I asked a team member who did. Are finance all right at the moment? Oh, Sue, they've got this big problem with this blah, blah, blah. Have they? Oh, that's interesting. Thank you. Because the smoker knew what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. I never smoked.
Gary, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so in this whole virtual world that we are going to be living in going forward, the move back into the office is going to be very different to the way it was before COVID. So a lot of organizations don't have the offices and the desk setups and all the rest of it that we used to have. And people in the office, if they want to call a meeting, the meeting is done virtually, even if you're in the office.
Yeah.
Everything is, we have, and where you're right, Sue, is we have a lot of managers who have not managed to adapt to managing virtually. And I think that a role of coaches and trainers today needs to be focused necessarily on the leadership and how to make them more versatile in how they manage.
You have to proactively manage if you have a partly virtual team. You could kind of just wing it slightly if you were in the same physical office. But you definitely can't wing it. It has to be conscious, proactive action if you have a virtual or part virtual team, to ensure equity, to ensure that you're getting the best out of each person, and to ensure that you've got a personal connection with each person. You've got to do that, because you've absolutely got to do that. We've got some more hands up. Who would like to go first?
John was first. So.
John? Hi, John.
Hi, Sue. Thank you very much for that. I've got a personal interest in workplace culture and leadership, and my particular angle is relating that to social value. But sort of some of the points that people have talked about, I just feel I've got to sort of add a little bit. In the sense that, like, the proximity bias. When I was in the military, there was an expression: you either had experience or you had rank. By what that was meant was that if you went on operations, you learned how to do things, but the CO didn't see you, so you didn't get promoted. And I remember one particular occasion when there were two people working in the same office, and one was the person who had the rank, but it was the other person who was only a sergeant, but they'd got the medals. They'd done the work. Yeah, and it was obvious who you went to.
If you want to have build a team, an established team that's going to stick with you for some time, then absolutely crucial that they are recognized fairly for the work and the contribution they make.
Yeah.
So you've got to know what they're doing in order to recognize it.
Yeah. Yes.
You've got to see it.
One variant for us as expert entrepreneurs building our businesses is that quite a lot of the people we're going to be working with are going to either be virtual workers by nature, like on Fiverr, and they're in the gig economy, therefore, or they are, running their own VA. They got multiple clients, and so they're kind of in our team, but they're also in their own team. They're also a leader, but they're also in our team. Like, have you got any tips on that? Because they're
it's a resource that you have got to manage, and you've got to help them manage their business. Make it easy for them to give you what you want, which is every week a phone call with them. Right, okay, I can anticipate that I'll need X amount of time next week, X amount of time the third week, X amount of time the fourth week, so that they can plan their workload, and you have made the request first. Yes, which means you stand a better chance of getting your work done. And they will disappoint other people, which means that you have got to be on top of the workload for the business and allocating it out. If you can, if it's a big project plan, big integrated project, put a Gantt chart together. You know what I mean by a Gantt chart? Yeah, you're familiar with Gantt charts? Then put a Gantt chart together. For even if it's just you and them, put a Gantt chart together so they can see the significance of their action and the impact it would have if it was late.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because then they'll know that they need to get that done by that time, for you to do that, for that to that, for the client to receive this as promised on that date.
And then that is proximity bias again, isn't it?
Yes. So you've got to be on top of it and know what everyone is doing week by week, day by day.
Yeah. Robbie,
and make it easy for them to give you what you want. That has to be foremost in your mind. How do I make it easy for them to be successful for me?
Yeah.
Robert, you've got a question.
Yeah, actually, it was partly related to Naomi's about the fact that we're not really, some of us as entrepreneurs aren't really building a virtual staff, but we're looking at, it's almost like we're hiring special consultants to do pieces, right? And so it's like the reverse of our role. But I was going to share, because if some of you folks do work with corporates, I mean, obviously my work, we spent the last 3 years trying to figure out what does the new workplace look like for organizations. And I think the message that hasn't come out clearly is remote work is not a problem. We've been doing that forever. Remote management is the problem that we haven't figured out how to address, because managers always looked at their measure of people working is if they could stand up and see they were physically there. Had nothing to do with actually what they were supposed to be doing. So that's what we see in the corporate world. And they're really wrestling hard with that, because they're just getting it now. It's that they really weren't managing very well.
Yeah, and a friend of mine, she managed an IT project, development IT project thing all over the world. Her IT developers were all over the world. She spoke with each of them for half an hour every week. That's a lot of time, because it's a large team. She also sent out a weekly newsletter to her team that was extremely motivational and informative and fun. So much so that when she left the project, she left the company, her team said, "You will still send us that email, won't you?"
Yeah. Well, even 3 years ago, there was not a project team that existed that everybody lived and worked in the same place. We were all working virtually or had virtual teams then. So I think this is the part. So I guess my question behind that is, I mean, we're in that role and both sides of that role. We're the virtual worker and we're the virtual manager here. So I guess is there a different way to approach that as managing?
Think of it. You are also the virtual worker. So who's going to be your ideal manager? What would you want from your manager if you were working on a project for somebody, and then just flip it and give it to your staff. Give that to your staff. Like, they pay me on time. Yeah, pay them on time. They're in constant contact. They're positive and they're calm when I speak to them. If I have a problem, they thank me and we solve it together. Yeah. They keep me to task. They set me a challenge. They ask me to step up my game. But when I do, they're the first to come in and say, congratulations, thank you so much. This was brilliant. Couldn't have done it without you. You become the person that you want to be managed by. And that is actually becoming a really great human being, and managing yourself, managing your emotional state. Oh, that takes some learning, doesn't it? To be calm when we're frazzled, to be calm, to be calm when things go wrong. It's an ask. It's an ask of all of us as human beings to step up to that job role.
Cool. So we've got 5 minutes left, so really quickly we'll just hear John's question, and then we need to wrap up. So
John, yeah.
Great, thank you, Naomi. I'd just like to get Sue's opinion about a particular communication tool. I love it, and I use it with my team in Mumbai and my team here, my advisors, and it's WhatsApp.
Oh yeah,
and it's an immediate communication. What's your view on it? What's your take?
Fantastic.
On it?
I don't care what medium you use, as long as everyone's happy with it, as long as everyone's contributing to it, and everyone and it works. And I love to see a little bit of chit chat, like, oh God, there was a terrible TV program last night, don't watch it. I love to see a little bit of sort of, or Sheila, you need to watch this because I know you love XYZ. Anything that gives a social cohesion, a little bit of sticky stuff is good, along with, can anyone help me out? Or am I the only one that can't log on this morning? Or whatever is going on. Yeah, excellent. WhatsApp is lovely. It's lovely. Whatever tool, keep it simple. And most people know how to do WhatsApp. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Google Docs and WhatsApp. What else do you need, really?
Excellent. Yeah. I'm just fearful that I wasn't being corporate, complicated enough.
No.
But this is brilliant. Yeah.
No. There'll be people who want to sell you a communication method. John, do you want to pay £500 a month to communicate to your team? Nah, WhatsApp's free.
With WhatsApp, I would just make sure all of your staff know that they can put WhatsApp on the desktop, because that will stop them picking up their phone and doing this.
Yes.
And whatever else is on the phone, but they can just.
I use WhatsApp on my desktop all the time. I've linked it and I'm on it.
Yeah, it's a game changer, and I would just make sure everyone knows that, because not everybody does. It's surprising how many people I've had to tell to do it. Cool. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much to Sue. I think we can all say that was top-notch, wonderful, excellent talk.